When do we? Oh, it was already recording when you walked in.
Oh, jeez. Yeah. Okay.
We'll see where we start.
How about there?
Yeah. Give everyone. Well, you asked us a question first, and I'll give everyone a little background about how this podcast started.
Yeah, absolutely.
If so.
Yeah.
It's up to Chuck. He does the computer stuff.
I'm kind of thinking that so when does this thing start is a great place to start it.
All right.
Well, welcome back to the Cuyahoga Sound Podcast. I'm Chuck Schilling.
And I'm Evan Stone.
We did a little backwards this time.
I liked it.
Yeah.
It's always good to roll reverse.
Yeah.
All right, today we have Jason Patrick Meyers with us. You use that middle name a lot or just when you're gigging?
Well, only when I want people to ask questions. Like, why do you have three names? I don't understand that. But really, I mean, if you Google, first of all, it's hard for a lot of people, I think, to spell my last name correctly. It's Meyers. And so you had the Patrick in there. There's more identification when you're searching for me for whatever reason.
Yeah, that's a great idea. That is.
Yeah.
You know, my wife's maiden name, Smith. And I told her, I said, when you marry me, it's going to get complicated. And she's like, what do you mean? It's Meyers. I'm like, yeah, but nobody spells it right. So
Meyers. Cool. There's also the grocery store spelling that no one uses.
Oh, yeah, throwing a J in there. Yeah.
It's all messed up. It's all messed up.
Cool. So, what is your... What do you do with music around here?
What do I do?
Yeah, give us
The rundown?
The rundown of your wide range of talents.
Well, if I've got a little sweat in my hair right now because I was just playing 3 hours outside in Copley, technically Akron, at Vitalia Adult Care. I've got to remember the whole name. It's basically a senior center. I play gigs. I play about 60 to 80 gigs a year. I run a nonprofit called Roots of American Music, based out of Cleveland Heights. I'm the program coordinator in the Expressive Therapy Department, which is music and art therapy at University Hospitals. I'm the DJ for Neo Rocks on WJCU 88.7. You're just making this weird because now I got to run all this down, and it's fine. I just feel weird saying it. But
Don't feel weird. You know I know, but tell everyone. This is for everybody.
Neo Rocks, Monday nights, 8 p.m. to 10 p.m., 88.7 FM WJCU. And I also work as a music liaison for Bright Winter, and then also the booking manager for the Heights Music Hop.
All right.
We
got a lot to talk about. Let's start with what I feel like you might be most famous for, that Neo Rocks show every Monday. Tell us what that is and how wonderful it is for the city.
Well, it's funny. I was actually just I was talking to Eric Simna. Eric Simna is the founder of Neo Rocks. 13 years ago, if I remember correctly, I came on. Well, yeah. Yeah, and I came on about 10 and a half years ago, so he had this show running for a while, and him and I joke now, but in the beginning it was a little rough, and one day I told him when one of his co-hosts decided to leave, I said, okay, I'm going to be your new co-host. And he said, what? I said, I'm going to be your new co-host. He said, okay. Doesn't pay anything. You got to work your butt off. And I said, great. Perfect. So from that point on, I was his co-host, and I didn't know I was most famous for that. That's still tripping me up.
I mean, just my perspective.
Well, what do you think you're most famous for?
God knows. I don't know. I don't think I'm that famous. I think that I just do music all over the place, and I'm very grateful. Just listing everything I just said makes me think of man, I am 41 years old, and I'm doing music full time, and it's freaking great, and I'm just very grateful for that. I think that's great. What it comes down to. Yeah.
That is great. Cool. So, 88 point. Sorry, what's the radio station again?
88.7.
88.7.
Yes.
Mondays.
Yes.
8
to 10 p.m.
8 to 10. Cool. And what is the program all about?
So Neo Rocks stands for Northeast Ohio Rocks. And over the last 10 years, it's been my purpose with Eric while I've been on the show to promote folks who need a voice, kind of like what you're doing here, which is awesome, by the way. And we've been able to, run 52 shows a year. There's times when we're not there, so holidays and whatnot. But really, it's been very consistent over the last 10 years. We've had bands like Walshley Arms, the Vindies, all kinds of different bands who have really kind of risen a little bit past the Cleveland scene and the Youngstown scene. And really, we're just trying to give voice to bands that are out there and musicians who are hungry. And we also do work with Blizzard Bash, which is our annual benefit. We've benefited the Hunger Network over the last several years. We raised almost $10,000 along with the 48-hour virtual music fest back in 2020. We're going to be back at it again this year with the Hunger Network. So we just try to really embed ourselves in the community through music and try to help the best we can.
Good. I'll say that you what you guys do was an inspiration, to what we do.
High fives. High fives all the way around. Hold on, high fives.
When he presented the idea, I thought, hey, yeah, that's like what Jason and Eric do.
That's amazing, man.
So,
Seriously.
So I'm glad we finally got you in here because I think I messaged you like months ago.
Yes.
But yeah, it's so great.
He's always trying to shame people over there. He's like, I sent you messages 6 months ago.
Man, it's hard. Look,
that's part of my thing.
Look, the thing I've been honestly searching for recently. I play a lot of gigs, right? A lot of cover gigs and a lot of stuff. It's hard sometimes with just taking yourself and putting your music together with this authentic self that you think is there, right? The reality, and the word I like to use especially lately is really authenticity, right? Trying to be as authentic as possible. The reality is I'm 41, got a kid, got a wife, and I don't even care anymore. Like, it is, I do my best, and I'm so happy that you're having me here. And you get to a point, I think, when you're just like, I'm just doing my best. It's like,
when you work so hard to like establish yourself early, you can just coast and do what you want to do and like always do your best.
Yeah, that's it.
That's great that you have the opportunity. It's a blessing because a lot of people I know would love to be doing music full time and working what do you work like 60 hours a week?
Yeah, average. Yeah.
Yeah, but just to do music,
Yeah.
That's great.
So has it been music full time from the get go, or working day jobs before that?
Hell no.
That's good inspiration for us old guys here. I'm 41 too.
There you go.
I'm 36, and I hope to be like you when I'm 41.
Look at that. I'll write a book. You can read it. I don't know. No, man.
I'm gonna find time for that.
and I've got to say too, by the way, before we get into that I appreciate this interview. The last time I did an interview was in 2020 with Cleveland Magazine. It was a short one, and then 2019 with Jeremy from the Morning Bird, his podcast. And I'm so used to interviewing people, and being on the other side of things right now is just. It's strange. Like you're both looking at me, and I hope I'm not messing up. What was your question?
There was no question.
What was before? Like, how'd you get into doing it full time? What led to that?
Yeah, so I went to Cleveland State for about 2 months. I was paying for college, and there was one day I just came home and I told my mom, I'm like, Mom, I'm done. I'm done. And she looked at me and she started crying, and I'm like, it's okay. Gave her a hug, and she's like, okay, what are you gonna do? I said, well, I'm gonna keep working for Subway, which is what I did. I worked for Subway. That was one of my first jobs. And then I'm going to do music full time. She's like, but okay. And she's a musician. She's taught for CIM for the last 45 years, classical piano. My dad's a musician. And I remember him looking at me with a cigarette in his mouth going, okay, that's cool. And so I ended up working for Subway and doing music. And then I worked for GNS Development, which is a fantastic group that basically they kind of oversee the Subway restaurants here on the east side. I had 40 stores on the east side of Cleveland that I made sure that they were hitting their profits and their margins and all that good stuff, and also just watching over them to make sure they were profitable. And I really kind of learned a lot of my business sense through that job. And then eventually, COVID hit, and I had just had my job offer with University Hospitals in 2019. So I was doing that part-time in the music therapy and art therapy department. COVID hit, and I accepted the offer to become executive director at Roots of American Music. And at that point, it was like, okay, I'm gonna be 40, and here we go. And this is it. I'm doing it full time.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
That's the short version.
Yeah.
Cool. Let's go into Roots of American Music.
Sure.
Cool. Because this one's news to me, and tell me all about it. That
Well, let me
sounds
give you a
awesome.
card. Hold on. I've got one on me, I think.
All right.
I'm doing this as we talk. So Roots of American Music was founded by Kevin Richards back in 1999. Back in 2016, I started as a teaching artist for Roots of American Music through the Stop the Hate program, and that is in conjunction with the Maltz Museum and the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And I was a teaching artist for Roots of American Music, known as ROAM from this point on, ROAM. And everything was going great. I mean, I was able to get into schools. We work with CMSD schools. We work in the Huff neighborhood. We work in the Buckeye neighborhood. We work in these really underserved neighborhoods that need music and need music to connect and tell stories and understand each other. And that's really what this organization is about. It's about putting musicians to work in the community in these neighborhoods that need attention and that need love. And we also do other, we have Adults with Disabilities program. We're working in the Huff neighborhood right now through the Cleveland Foundation grant. It's a Huff is My Home program where we're working with the Fatima Family Center on Lexington Avenue to put music in there. Also the Dave Supermarket on 61st and Chester to put music in there. So putting music in this community. And we have several other things going on as well through Roots of American Music and rootsofamericanmusic.org. Rootsofamericanmusic.org is where you can find all of that information. We are a 501c3 nonprofit, and we're based out of Cleveland Heights.
Great. And you talked about working with schools.
Yeah.
How do you do that exactly? Would you put on an assembly for the kids, or would you go in and into their music class?
Each one is different. So we have two of our programs now would be Stop the Hate and Blues is the Backbone. Both of these programs are, Blues is the Backbone is funded by different foundations around the area that we're very grateful for. And we basically have a teaching artist, which is just a musician like Evan Kuchuk, and we train them on what we'd like for them to kind of accomplish, and it's all CMSD, Cleveland Metropolitan School District, kindergarten through third grade, and it's usually 4 to 8 classes per classroom teacher, and teaching artist goes in and they talk to the kids about Memphis Minnie or B.B. King or Robert Johnson, and it's this whole, because it's K through 3, it's not very enhanced. It's not like but it's an introduction for the kids into blues music. Stop the Hate is another program I just said that, teaching artist goes in after a tour with the Maltz Museum of Jewish Heritage, has an honest discussion with the class, and this could be a CMSD school, it could be Beechwood, it could be any school in the area. And they start writing a song, and over the course of 4 classes, they write a song about the hate they have seen in their life. It's recorded. Brian Straw is our engineer extraordinaire, and in past years, pre-COVID, then that song by that class is performed at the Rock Hall by that class. We're doing things a little bit different this year. It's still getting worked out, but those are 2 examples.
Oh, that's wonderful.
That is so cool.
Yeah. We just, we want to give kids the voice, and I don't know. I think a lot of what's going on is in the past years, people see music as such a, I don't know, glorious, and it is glorious. But I mean, when you think about the American Idol culture, of this is what you do, and this is the only thing that music does for you. It's BS. I mean, music is so much deeper than that, so much more than that, and we're hoping that by talking to these kids at a young age, they see that they can make an impact just by doing what they're doing and not worrying about getting on stage and, seeing a million people at once.
Is there anything that, the people watching at home can do to help out with this program?
We accept donations. We are a 501c3, but really we're looking for, spreading the word. What I found. So I came in as executive director in 2020, in June of 2020, right? So we're 3 months into the pandemic, and our daughter was just born in February of 2020. So you can imagine my wife and I just, wow, what are we doing? So you quit your job with this really great, company here, and you're gonna run a arts and music nonprofit in the middle of a pandemic. Okay, so if you feel sorry for me, rootsofamericanmusic.org is where you can make your donation. No, but really spreading the word and just awareness, and we're trying to get out there and let people know what we're doing.
Great.
Yeah. We'll do all we can to help.
Appreciate it. Really, that means a lot.
Cool, yeah. We'll shout you out whenever we shout our sponsors.
Yeah,
out
absolutely.
every week.
Awesome. Amazing.
I love seeing this pile grow.
Yeah.
Look at that. What else do you have over here?
It's a little early. Well, let's do it.
Okay.
All right. What else do we have over here? Well, we have Chuck Kaminsky.
The Basement Trader.
Mm-hmm. Basement Trader at BASSMENT.
You were just over at Chuck's place.
I was?
You said he said hi to me. You were talking about, was it Nashville Guitar Works? Is that the name of the brand that he's carrying now?
Oh, yeah. I saw him on this thing called Messenger.
Oh, yeah. The virtue, you saw him in the metaverse, huh?
That's right.
All right.
That's right. Yeah, I just brought up this in partnership with a new line of guitars, Fender quality at a very cheaper price, very more affordable price, like Nashville Guitar Works. Check that on his Reverb store or his website, basementtrader.com. And you can also get a hold of him for your setups and repairs. He has all types of oddities and vintage gear. He can get you to hook up everywhere.
And he's also just fun to BS with anyways.
That's right. Yeah, out of his house in Painesville, and all of his stuff is in his basement.
We won't give you the address, though.
You can find that on basementtrader.com. Also, Chuck, can you use some Listen CLE?
All right, Listen CLE. Well, first of all, we'll go through the mood-based podcast, I say that every single time.
Like 90% of the time.
No, I think it's I don't think I've ever said playlist unless I'm staring at it. Yeah, we'll cut that. So they've got the mood-based playlist. So instead of doing, just rock, they go by, the mood. So we've got What Is Love, Groove, Energy Boost, Chill, Feel Good, Misery Loves Company, Rock Out, Night Driving, and Acoustic Cuts. It's all local artists. And on top of that, they've also built a database for artists to basically make their EPK online for venues to check out. You put your information in there about like how many members, what kind of equipment you need, what kind of outlets you need in order to do your performance, and it looks like that's really taken off. It's cool to see, and those two are just working their ass off at getting Cleveland music out there for everybody.
That's right. You can check out early season 1, episode 8 or 9 for our interview with them for more details on that and all the new stuff they're doing and all of their aspirations for the future.
Yeah, they've got they're sponsoring. It's like Sundays at the Rock Hall going on. Yeah, they got a lot of cool stuff going on.
Cool. That's Mike McFarland and Amanda Nix.
Yes.
Running that. We've also got Enlightenment Event Lighting.
Yep. They got cool lights.
They do, yeah. For all your staged lighting needs, contact Brian and Emily Klemonic at enlightenmenteventlighting@gmail.com.
I'd give you more info on them, but that was the episode Evan cheated on me. had a guest host.
Well, you said you were moving to Rome, and then you didn't.
Yeah.
Well, you will be moving.
I will be. I got some time. Then we got Russell Jones.
We got Russell Jones of Drones. You
want to try that again?
I said it right.
You said drones.
I said Jones Drones CLE.
There you go. You nailed it. We'll cut that too.
Cool. Yeah, we got an interview with him also in season 1.
Yes, we do.
And he's a drone photographer, drone repairman, lessons, and
That's cool.
Gets a lot of festival
Racing.
footage. Yeah, he does the racing. Lessons, help you out with your trying to get your drone licensed, which is way more complicated than I think it should be. I went and got mine, and I was totally surprised at like how much studying I had to do.
Right.
It's like harder than half my college classes. It really was. I did it at the same time. Like I went back to college. I was taking courses, and I was actually getting my drone license to be able to do some stuff for the school. I was at Baldwin Wallace, which is right next to the airport. So in order to get a drone in the air there, you need to have a license.
Wow.
Otherwise, like my drone wouldn't even take off. It recognized I was there. I had to put in like an approval code. And it was harder than, I'd say 75% of the courses I took. Like,
wow.
at least the tests were in.
Well, that's a different laws up there, right, in the airspace.
Yeah, man, I had to like learn how to read like all. It's basically like I was taking the test with pilots. There was actual pilots. They take all your stuff and lock it up and put you into a room with a booklet and reading all these charts of like weather reports and yeah, it was pretty intense. But God. Russell Jones will take you through it and you'll be acing it.
That's right.
Yeah, like a true pilot.
All right, well, back to the podcast.
And we're
back. To our
back.
guest. We've got musician and radio host, nonprofit guy, music therapy guru, Jason Patrick Meyers with us today.
He's got a lot of hats.
Yeah, let's learn a little bit about music and art therapy.
Yeah, so I always tell people this, that I work in the music and art therapy department, also called the expressive therapy department at university hospitals. I am not a music therapist, so I'm the program coordinator. We have over a dozen music therapists, and we have an art therapist as well. So basically, the department is the largest hospital-based music therapy department in the entire country. And I don't think a lot of people know that, right here in Cleveland. University hospitals. It's an amazing department led by Seneca Block, and it's really it's amazing to me. I think I'll sum it up this way. I started working there in 2019, in March 2019. In April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November, December of 2019, I went to my parents' house like I do every month. I try to go at least once a month. Have dinner with them. My father is a musician. He would always come to me at the dinner table and say, Jason, and I feel like every story about him has a cigarette in his mouth, but whatever. Cigarette in his mouth, he pulls it out and says, Jason, what do you do there? I said, Dad, I'm working in the music therapy department. And he just looks at me, takes a puff and goes, what the hell is that? And every time I would tell him the same thing. Well, Dad, if you listen for more than 10 seconds here, if I can get your attention, what it is music as a tool to reach the person. And he would take a puff from his cigarette and just look at me funny and walk away. And then the next month, we'll have the same discussion. Finally, I feel like in January of 2020, it clicked with him. He's like, oh, wait, so you could play like Miles Davis or Thelonious Monk, and he's a jazz musician. He's like, you could play this for a patient, and that would open the door for you to talk to them. I'm like, yes, Dad. He's like, oh, why don't you just tell me that earlier? But truly, I am inspired. I work there part-time. I'm there 24 hours a week. I'm at the nonprofit about at least 30 hours a week. And then I do my gigs and whatnot. But I can tell you, like, sitting there and just listening to the music therapist, it's so inspiring to hear the way, and I obviously can't discuss certain, things about this because of patient, confidentiality and all that. But just listening to some of the therapists, and I'll have conversations with them in the office, and just the way that they use music to connect with people who are going through some really hard times. Seidman Cancer Center's right there, and they're at CMC, they're at Portage, Geauga, they're at all these centers, and they're working with folks that are going through some really hard times, and it's really transcended what music means to me. Whereas when you start playing an instrument, you get on stage and you play and you get that thrill. And then you get off stage and you go, damn, I missed that. I want to get back on stage again, right? And then you group as many of those concerts or whatever together to make you feel good. Then you record, and then you hear yourself on the radio or on a podcast, and you go, damn, that felt good. I want to do that again. And then you do it, and then you couple that with your performance. There's nothing quite like, again, just hearing how a simple session with a patient, in a room, has just impacted that person so much. It makes you think from an outside perspective, wow, I'm almost selfish. Like, I've used music, this power of music, for selfish reasons. I've been on stage and it felt good to me, and then I heard myself on the radio. It felt good to me. But when you use music in that sense to change people and to help people, it just makes you think overall about the power of what music is and what it can be.
I've seen a lot of, I don't know if it's anything that you guys are doing there, but work with like Alzheimer patients and bringing in pianos and music, and just it completely like brings them back for a minute while that's going on. And it's just amazing to see, because like I said, we're selfish with it. It's that high of being on stage and playing and practicing and jamming and whatever. But yeah.
Yeah, and again, I feel like I need to say this over and over because I want to make sure I don't misrepresent myself. Again, I am not a music therapist, but I will say, to your point, one of the things that really helped me understand how powerful music is was actually a gig I played through Roots of American Music at a ViaQuest location in Paynesville in 2019. I remember this, and ViaQuest is like it's a facility that helps folks who are dealing with some disabilities. And they are one of the folks that we work with through Roots of American Music, and I was being hired at that time. I said 2019, it was 2017, I'm sorry, to go out to Paynesville and to perform for some people out there. So I remember it snowing really bad. I showed up late to the gig, and it's in Paynesville, so it's always snowing there, right? Mm-hmm. You know that pretty well, being
so Chuck Kaminsky knows that too.
Yeah.
BasementTrader.com.
Yeah. It's always snowy on Chestnut.
So I get up there, and the deal with the gig was that the room I was going to be in is so small, I didn't need a PA. And this is weird because, you always need a PA or some kind of projection to let people know you're there. So I get there, sign in, I get into the room, and there's probably about 20 people already waiting for me. And some folks were in wheelchairs, and, just the space allotment of the room made things a little bit tight, right? And so I set up real quick. I get my table, get my notes, get my, songs I want to play. And there's this woman looking at me in the center of the room in the back. And this is like a room smaller than this, actually, that we're in right now. But
20 people?
Yeah, I mean, it was tight.
Yeah.
It was tight. And I was in there, and it was super heated because it was cold outside. And I'm sweating. I just loaded in real quick, and there's this woman that's just in the center of the room staring at me like almost like this look of like, what are you gonna do for me now? So I get through like 3-4 songs, and she's just staring at me. And in my recollection of this now, she's not blinking even. I'm sure she was blinking. But but at the time, I'm like, why is she not blinking? She's making me so nervous. I'm sweating. And I thought, oh my God, there's got to be a song that I can make her smile. Like, there's got to be something. So I looked through my notes, and there was nothing there. And I just thought I took a deep, breath and a glass of water and said, okay, here we go. And then I go into the song, D major chord. You are my sunshine, my only sun. And sure enough, her face just lights up. It's like she smiles, and she was blinking, which is great. And she was looking at me and smiling, and I'm like, oh my God, I've got her. And she started singing along under her breath, and I don't remember what happened the rest of that gig. All I remember is that I called my girlfriend, now wife at the time, after the gig, and I got in the car. I said, hey, I want to do, I want to do music therapy. I didn't even know what that meant. This is back in 2017. And she's like, okay, cool. I'm going to get back to work now. Because it's the middle of the day. But I kind of sat there with the snow coming down and thinking, I think my life was just kind of changed right there. And sure enough, I contacted the powers that be, and I made a few things happen. And, less than a year later, I was offered a job in the music therapy department. I thought, oh my God, this is like, how did this even happen? I mean, I don't understand. But it was that one, incident with the one person, with the one song that made the whole thing happen. It was just amazing.
All right.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
Thanks for explaining that. When I thought of
We'll
music
ask you
therapy-
next month what it is again.
What was? I'm sorry.
No, we'll
what
ask
exactly you do there.
Well, what I do is boring. No, I put together concerts every Friday. We hold concerts every Friday in the atrium at CMC. Mikey Silas from Apostle Jones is going to be there on Friday playing, and these folks volunteer their time to play every Friday. But then I also do a lot of stuff which is just like order instruments for the therapist, you know, and I do some payroll stuff, and my job is a program coordinator in the department. So I'm able to see kind of like the ins and outs of everything, and just kind of be that person to go to for all the different things that need to happen.
Great, cool.
Yeah.
Cool. Any music therapists we might know from musicians in the scene that work there?
Yeah. Trying to think. So
I think Dave Ziggy talked about this or something.
Yeah.
Is that somebody that you work with?
No, so he's with I forgot what school he's with. But
They're heated rivals.
no, not at all. Not at all. That's the beauty about music therapy. There's so much, like, again, just compassion and just love. It's like there's no competition, which is great. It's totally different than, you know, depending on the scene that you're in, it's totally different from that. But I'm trying to think. You know, so I do work with Libby Gill. She's a music therapist out of Ahuja. Her and I play a bunch of gigs together.
She violin. You get that violin duo you do?
That's with Laura Simna.
Oh, okay, right.
Which is Eric Simna, my co-host on Neo Rocks, his cousin. But yeah, I mean, a lot of the folks in the music therapy department are, you know, some are, you know, therapists first and then musicians, and some are, I don't want to say musicians first, but they're more involved in the scene a little bit. But I don't know if that answers the question at all.
That's good enough.
Good. I feel like I'm being pretty horrible at answering questions at this point, but it's all right.
You're out of practice. You're normally asking everything.
Yeah.
I know. I'm just like rambling on.
Yeah, you can ask
Yeah,
us
you can-
something if it makes you feel more comfortable.
I've got so
That's
many
Chuck a
questions.
question. I gotta grab another beer.
Yeah, absolutely.
Bring in a couple beers.
What's my first time meeting you?
Yeah,
So wait,
same.
who do you play with?
Nobody right now. So I had played with a bunch of tribute bands and cover bands, you know, just for years. And most recently, I was with Bad Juju. That's like a '90s cover band. Evan and I were in a Chili Peppers band called Under the Bridge, and then we also did a Green Day tribute called Longview. That was like we paired those up. And
cool.
Evan actually sang that one. We all dressed like Billy Joe with our, you know, like red
That's
ties
awesome.
and black shirts. So that was a good time. But yeah. Making some noise out there, Evan.
You know what's funny, by the way, about this is that I'm so used to the radio, we're non-commercial radio. So I'm good, man. Thank you. So we can't grab beers in the studio, and we also can't do call to action. So like when these two things are happening, I'm like twitching a little inside. So I'm like, oh no, this can't happen, but yes, it can.
What do you mean about call to action? What's that mean?
Come to my show on Friday. Everyone's gonna be there. You should be there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, can't do that. You gotta dance around it.
Cool. Well, let's hear all about your gigs.
I'm a terrible
in the next
dancer.
month. Plug them all.
Plug all my gigs. You know what's funny? I do a lot. Like this year, I have not been on stage like at the Grog Shop, Beachland. I haven't done any of those traditional gigs this year. The last gig I did before today was in Proctor, Arkansas, which is 20 miles west of Memphis, Tennessee. Every year, so my next gig, by the way, before I get into this ramble, is at North High Brewing, right, in Beechwood. So the Beechwood location this Saturday from 6 to 9 p.m.
All right.
But I play a lot of weird gigs, man. Like, I'm just, but by weird, I mean just so, like, I would have never, like, as an 18-year-old kid, I always go back to that, right? Like, I'm talking to my mom and saying, I'm done with college. And she's looking at me like, okay, I believe you. Now what? But I never would have pictured, 41-year-old me going like, oh yeah, it's cool. I'm playing this, the senior center, and then I'm playing in West Memphis, Arkansas, and then I'm like, you don't really plan for that. It just kind of happens, and that's kind of my life at this point. that makes sense.
So what would be like? Give us a couple of your weirdest gigs, since you brought up playing some weird stuff.
Oh man, this year?
You can go all the time if you want. Yeah, if you got some good stories to stick out, yeah, anytime.
I played Grafton Correctional. That was one for 800 prisoners back in 2009.
Did you play any Johnny Cash?
No, that would have been too cliche. I don't roll that way, you know. We played all original music, and they knew about us from 92.3, The Inner Sanctum with Pat Johnson, Matt Wardlaw, Jim Benson. They were playing a song of ours at the time. Redwater Rojo was the name of the band. Butterfly, that was the name of the song. And they were having this pizza party out there. I don't know how this happens, and if I'm wrong on any of this, you know, anybody who's listening can correct me. But and they took like a small poll, I guess, from the, you know, who they wanted to have come in, and they knew us from the radio, from the song Butterfly, and they wanted us to come in. So we ended up getting there. We played for about an hour. We got there about 5 hours before the gig to get checked, to get, you know, whatever. And that's one that definitely sticks out to me.
I know my dad's band played a prison once. I don't remember which one, but he was talking about like having to go through like all the checks and everything. He was a drummer in Burnt River Band at the time. It was like a big biker band. They played for years. They were the opening act for whoever the main band at Sturgis was. So went out to Sturgis all the time, and they would play for, you know, opening for the Doobie Brothers and Edgar Winter Group and all kinds of cool stuff like that. But yeah, he had a prison gig. I remember being little, and he's like, "Yeah, I got to go play at a prison tonight." Like, all right, good luck.
I remember there were two things I remember about that. One was just the getting through the check of it all. Like, I mean, they had to check through everything because, you know, they have to make sure with all of our amps and everything else, they had to go through it, make sure there was nothing being stored, you know, whatever. And then also there was a fight that broke out at one point. And I remember thinking, like, I'm on stage playing, and I'm counting the number of security guards against the number of prisoners. And I'm like, oh, man. Okay, I'm drawing a line in the crowd. Like, if it gets up to this point, I'm getting the hell out of here. Yeah. But luckily, everything worked out. We ended up playing Butterfly, and they loved it. Yeah.
That's all right. Good.
Yeah. I just saw a prison story that was in the news the other day where a woman was, like, helping smuggle some drugs in. I don't know what it was, but it was, like, in a balloon. And she passed it by, like, making out with her boyfriend who was in prison, and he swallowed it, and it burst in his stomach and killed him.
Oh my God!
And she's getting tried for murder.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's a true fatal kiss, right?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it's like, wow, that was very, because it was like killed the man for making out was like the headline. I'm like, all right, I got to read this one.
Wow.
And it wasn't clickbait. It was actually an interesting story, you know.
Wow.
The Inner Sanctum.
Yeah.
But I remember that. It started. Have they done that on like Cleveland stations for years and years?
They were on 107.9, 92.3, and 107.3. Yep, 29 years ago.
So they're still doing that on a new station?
They're not. Oh. No, they're not. We were supposed to have the guys in actually this past Monday on Neo Rocks, and unfortunately we had to reschedule it. But you know, neorocks.com, wjcu.org, if that's okay to push on here.
Of course.
That's where you can find more info. We're gonna have the guys.
Push your OnlyFans if you want.
You know, it's with this body. I mean, hey, you know, it's.
Hey, there's someone into it.
I don't even want to go into that. Oh man.
We won't.
No. I wore my best blue shirt for you though. I'll tell you that. All right. Yeah. It's my bluest blue shirt.
That's your best shirt.
I mean, it's got a stain on the back, but, you know, I did my best.
Got the best front on it.
It says no baby drool or anything on it. You know, it is what it is.
Tell us about your kid and fatherhood.
Oh man, it's the best thing that ever happened to me. It's crazy though. I mean, she was supposed to be born March 29th, 2020. She was born February 15th, 2020, which is 5 days after my birthday. And March 29th is actually my wife's birthday. So the whole time we thought, oh, she's going to be born on your birthday. Nope, just kidding. She's 6 weeks early. Spent 17 days in the NICU, got her home, and then a week later, the world blew up.
Yeah.
And it was the scariest thing ever to be a first-time dad, and then to have COVID happen, and then to have no family support. We couldn't have anybody near us. I mean, the first family we saw wasn't until late May, maybe early June. So we're just going through, 2-3 months of just like, what the hell? Like, what is this? But I think coming out of that was like, it just made us so much more grateful for going through that, considering, where we're at right now. And it's the best thing that ever happened to me. I mean, bottom line. Yeah.
What's her name?
Taylor Marie. She's a little redhead, and she acts like it.
Nice.
But she's also, it's funny. Like we live by we live in by a Target, and we go in there once a week for stuff, and it's like she's running for president. We'll put her in the shopping cart, and she'll start waving to everybody and hi, hello, no stranger danger at all. Just hello to everybody.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I worry about kids like with COVID and being like kept away from everybody if it's gonna mess with their social progression.
Not her.
Awesome.
Well, that's a newborn.
Yeah,
they're not going to kindergarten or anything.
Yeah. not going to kindergarten.
Anyway.
Just gonna leave that there.
Better not to mention that again.
So, you said both of your parents are musicians. So,
Yes.
That helped you get going really, really young?
Yeah, I started playing piano when I was 2, and guitar when I was 7, cello when I was 9, and then I picked up bass, harmonica, vocals, all that good stuff. But the one funny thing I tell people about this is like, I was playing Randy Travis today, right, for these seniors, and I was playing Merle Haggard and 3 chords in the truth, right, and to my parents, like listening. All I would listen to is like Chopin and Tchaikovsky and Brahms and Thelonious Monk and Charlie, Bird and just like all these players that are so advanced. And I used to love sitting under my mother's piano while she played. Chopin was my favorite when I was a kid, and just listening to her play. And I ended up playing an acoustic guitar and singing country songs. And there are so many times I joke with my parents, I'm like, I'm a disappointment to you, aren't I? I'm just a musical disappointment. But I think that really helped, like, living in that environment. And that's kind of the environment I'm trying to create for Taylor, too. It's just not influence her, but just have music always. Her favorite musician right now is Tito Puente. She loves Afro-Cuban style music, which is, I mean, I don't play that, clearly. But she loves, Santana, Tito Puente, and it's just amazing to see kind of the evolution of, like, how I grew up in this environment, and I'm creating a similar environment, I hope, for her, and we'll see where it goes.
Nice. She banging on the piano yet?
Yeah, she's she's not making any sense with it, but she's banging. We have a keyboard in the living room. We have a djembe. We have a guitar. What's the other one? Guitar. I can't think right now. Ukulele.
I was about to say, if it was ukulele, it's exactly my house too. With Delilah. Like, those are all the instruments that I have out for.
So you're
what?
You're in a similar situation, right? You're surrounding with Delilah with.
That's right. She even has like a drum set that's like her size.
Yes, same. Yeah, she has a little drum with a little kick that the spring always pops off, but we always put it back on. And
Yeah.
oh man,
Every time, like 3 times each time she plays, it's like gotta reset that.
Yeah.
So let me ask you, if you don't mind, like, how do you look at that? Like, for me, it's like, I'm not trying to influence her in any way, but I just want to provide.
No, I don't. I'm not trying to make her be a musician. Just want her to be able to use those parts of her brain.
Yeah.
And explore her own creativity.
Yeah, it's funny. One of Taylor's favorite books and musicians is B.B. King. So she loves Tito Puente to listen to, but she loves the One Shoe Blues book that I read to her every night. And I mentioned earlier I just got back from Arkansas, so I take this trip down to the Mississippi Delta every single summer. I've been doing it for the last 20 years. And it's always pretty much the same, where I go to the Little Zion Missionary Baptist Church, which is in Greenwood, Mississippi, technically Money, Mississippi, and that's the place where Robert Johnson famous blues guitarist who, quote unquote, sold his soul to the devil. He's the original.
Yeah.
He's also the original number 27. 1911 to 1938 he lived. But I go to his gravesite, and there's this little church there, and I spend the entire day when I'm down there just sitting on the steps, praying, writing, and just thinking. I do those three things. And this last year, so this just happened a couple weeks ago, I told Taylor that I was going to find B.B. King's house. I told her, and she doesn't really understand yet. But so I made it a point to see B.B. King's house, and his house is listed as like 25 minutes away from the church in Greenwood, Mississippi. And there's no reception. It's like dirt roads, red clay soil, rocks. I mean, kicking up everywhere. I'm going 15 miles down. And I didn't even know if my car was going to make it. So I finally get to the marker that isn't there. And it's just on this, like, the edge of a cotton field. And there's some kind of, like, industrial plant in the background. And I'm sitting here going, oh, my God, I'm going to have to lie to her one day. I'm going to have to tell her that I found BB's house. And, but I did my best. I took video and, and I deviated from my typical Mississippi trip to do that. So I tried. If Taylor of the future is listening, I tried.
Well, I'm sure she will.
I'll have to make that trip. That sounds awesome. Like, just going and seeing musical history is just, I love that.
Yeah, it's people look at me either the way you two are looking at me or like I've just lost my mind. Like, what do you mean you go on a trip by yourself, 2,324 miles total over 6 days, and I go by myself. I just want to think. I just want to be. I can't.
Sounds wonderful right now.
Yeah.
It absolutely sounds wonderful.
And God, I've got to say this. God bless my wife. I know that how I need to say this because like I know how not typical my life is. But then like having, I don't know, like taking this trip, I can't even imagine like being in her shoes. Like if she was like, oh yeah, I'm going to go to this place that's very spiritual and very, whatever to me. And I'm going to do it every year. And I told her this when I proposed to her. I proposed, she said yes. And I remember looking at her going, I'm still going to take my Mississippi trip every year, even if we're married. I mean, that's a commitment right there. But I can't do roots of American music and I can't promote Cleveland music, and I can't play all these gigs without being at the source and breathing that air and getting it in my blood. Because if I don't, I'm not being authentic to who I am.
You were talking about writing earlier. That sounds like something you should write about. I mean,
Yeah.
that sounds like a great experience and how things have changed. And like, do you visit the same sites over and over, or do you try and hit new ones?
Yeah, I always try to hit some new ones. I always go to. I've never admitted this out loud, so I'll just do it now. Robert Johnson's graveyard, like, it's a very small graveyard, probably about 100 graves. I mean, some of the graves are handwritten. I mean, it's the Mississippi Delta. It's one of the poorest areas in the entire United States. I mean, still is. But I always make it down, and I go to the church, I pull in, and I walk to the grave, and I tag it and say, okay, I made it again. I'm here again for another year. And, so I go there for sure. One of the sad things is that 7 miles up the road, this is on Money Road in Greenwood, Mississippi. 7 miles up the road is the infamous Bryant grocery store, Bryant's Grocery, where Emmett Till supposedly whistled at Carolyn Bryant. And that set off, history as we know it in 1955. On the other side is the Tallahatchie Bridge, where that famous song was written. So there's so much history that's right there. But like this past year, I went to the Mississippi Civil Rights Museum in Jackson, Mississippi, and I actually traveled all the way down to Franklinton, Louisiana, which is about an hour and a half north of New Orleans. And the point of that is that the wonderful woman who watches our daughter, her name is Miss Sharon, she's from Franklinton. So I had this idea that I wanted to drive to where she grew up. So I understood, how do I say it? I understood where she grew up, and then I wanted to make that parallel between the way that she saw her house in Louisiana to the way my daughter sees her house in South Euclid, if that makes sense. And then kind of write this album that I'm working on right now through the eyes of both of them. So that's something I did this year. but I feel like I'm giving you a lot of information.
Oh no, I'm taking it all in. This is cool. Like I'm way into travel and music, so like, yeah, it's ticking all the boxes for me. Who cares if they go to sleep?
I hope not. I'm wearing my best blue shirt. Go to sleep.
I lost it.
You lost it? It's gone?
What did you just say?
Making the album, going down.
That's right.
visiting.
Yeah. Okay. So making an album. You have a lot of music released throughout the years.
I'll be honest with you. Like, no, I wish I had more. I've been, you know how it is, Evan. Like, I've been working with Bright Winter, Heights Music Hub, WJC, Roots of American Music, University. Like, I've given so much of myself out, which is great, but I need at this point to really kind of go in a little bit and say, okay, where am I at right now in life, And that was part of the trip this year to Mississippi. The point of it was like, okay, I'm going to be a little selfish again, and I'm going to write things that I see, through life right now, so I can hopefully slow life down a little bit. It gets so fast, and you know this too, I'm sure, with like, the little one and with the people you care about in your life. It's like you have so much joy and it goes so fast. And if you can find a creative way to be productive creatively and then slow things down and still enjoy, that's kind of what I'm trying to do right now.
Yeah. And also you can capture those moments if you can do that, and look back and take yourself back to those times as it's moving so fast.
Yeah.
I dig it.
It's crazy, man. Like, it's just, I always picture myself as this 18-year-old kid talking to my mother, like I told you, Mom, I don't want to go to, college. And that was a very pivotal moment in my life. But I always kind of compare, like, choices I'm making right now based on, like, the feeling I had back then, like what motivated me to do that, right? And I kind of put it against like everything I'm doing right now, whether it's a podcast and saying yes to a podcast or saying yes to a gig. Like, what does the 18-year-old me think about this? It's kind of a weird, I don't know, setup in my head, but the point is right now, to answer your question, I think, is that for the next few months I'm going to be focusing on finishing writing and recording, and hopefully by spring getting this out there and getting my band back and just playing. I love playing all these solo and duo and trio shows, but man, I miss playing with the band. And you guys know how you've played in bands together, and there's nothing like it.
Yeah, getting that connection and just, I love when you're flying off the cuff with a band, with the right people, like when we were doing our Chili Peppers show, we would just start like, E.
Oh yeah, we didn't even play Chili Peppers at the beginning. We just jams in like that style.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was my favorite part of the show. Was just like, I don't know where the hell this is gonna go. I don't know when it's gonna end, but eventually we're gonna come up to this song.
Yeah. Yeah. Once it seems like we told a story or we warmed up or something, I think I came in with that "Can't Stop."
Yeah. All right, we'll take it.
Now, was it always on E, or did you pick like an F sharp ever?
Well, I'm the drummer, so
I
just go.
You got the easy.
I had the easy guy.
It was whatever key our opening song was, which was different every time. But
yeah,
that would be great though if the drummer called out the key, right? Like,
fuck you guys.
I love it. Like, I don't care.
You would say L sharp.
Yeah.
Right. B flat with the major modulation in verse 3. All right,
I was going back and watching a couple of our videos, and Chris is entertaining as hell. Our bass player was, he nailed Flea. And embodying the people. This was like a huge part of it.
Yeah,
that was a lot of fun.
That's cool.
It was a lot of fun.
Yeah. Well, I think I said it a couple of podcasts ago. We should do that again before you leave. We should do a show.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I'm down.
Where are you going?
I'm moving to Rome. So.
What?
Yeah.
But I didn't know I hired you.
And not until April. So,
Oh, you mean Italy, not the nonprofit realm.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
Yep. Spelled a bit different. But,
Man, I didn't know about it. I literally just met you in the garage, so.
yeah.
Wow. What are you going to be doing out there?
Well, my wife got a promotion, so she's in charge of like all the English-speaking territories for her work, which will include the UK, the U.S., and Australia. So it's kind of like a center point, so she can keep up with different time zones. And I'm able to work remotely, doing some like packaged materials for my job. So it won't be like the same full-time status that I'm doing, but I'll be kind of doing house husband duties and doing some work on the side and enjoying the
playing
city.
with all those Italian doom metal bands, right?
Yeah. I'll tell you what, the busking.
No, that's in drop C sharp. At the very highest.
A lot of busking in Rome. Like there's music everywhere in that city.
Really?
Yeah, people are out playing everywhere. And actually, I'm gonna.
Guitars.
Yeah, before I forget, I'm gonna make my YouTube recommendation. There's a couple channels, but it's just walking tours of Rome that people do, where like somebody just walks around with a GoPro, and they release like 2 a day, and they just walk through the city, and you'll see so many musicians playing at all these, and people just gather around listening to music and checking out ruins. It's awesome.
That's cool.
Yeah, so that's my recommendation. I got to it early.
Yeah, we still got about 20 minutes.
We do.
Before we get
I knew I was going to forget, so that's why. That's why I hit it.
All right, well, let's use this this last little chunk of time to talk about the other thing.
What did I do?
We're all
The
in.
other thing.
I don't know what it is. He's got a surprise going on here.
No, all the things you listed at the beginning, I'm blanking. We got to cut this in.
Yeah, I'm sure we will. What else you got going on that we didn't talk about?
So
'Cause
maybe
I know
Bright
everything-
Winter.
Okay, yeah,
Heights
the
Music.
Heights Music Hop and the Bright Winter. Let's talk about all that. I'd like
Yeah.
to know like about these festivals and like the reality of putting them together and like how many people it takes and how you choose the music and how for our musician listeners to apply themselves.
So I'll make this as simple as I can. When I was a musician, before, I started running organizations and working in hospitals and helping with the selection process for, major festivals, I thought, and this is probably advice maybe for folks, I thought that it was really simple, right? Like you submit, you've got a whole room full of people looking at it, and they're laughing at you. Oh my God, you're horrible. We will never pick you. We can't wait to write this email. No, it's not that.
A one-word reply of quit.
I can tell you, and I'm talking to people, I've been rejected for tons of stuff. It didn't make me, luckily I just kept fighting through, and everybody's got that in them, right? Like being musicians, you guys know, like you have to have a certain amount of perseverance, like mental fortitude where you're like, all right, screw this. I'm going to keep applying. That would be my simple advice to everybody, because if you keep applying to these things, whether it's Bright Winter or whatever it may be, Heights Music Hop, if you keep applying year after year, hopefully in conjunction with that is you trying to be a better musician. You're not going to keep applying year after year if you're sitting on the same songs, hopefully, or you never practiced in the last 365 days. So my best advice to everybody is, like, whatever it is, keep applying. And I've had to reach out, I think, because I felt guilty. We've rejected friends, like, and it wasn't, I hate using the word reject, but the reality with a festival, you have monetary, fluctuations. You have situations with like venues, with the Heights Music Hop. I mean, we're up and down Lee Road next Saturday. Well, maybe this Saturday, depending on when this is put out. But September 10th, which is Saturday, September 10th, and we have to be aware of space, regulations with with the venues and. Whether it's Boss Dog or CLE Urban Winery. I mean, each venue has its own space requirements that allow certain acts to be put in, and that goes into the whole process of picking people. It's not necessarily, I mean, we want the best musicians possible, but there are so many things that go into that. And I can't speak as much to Bright because I don't want to step on anybody's toes. Everyone over there does such a great job. And obviously, anybody who's been to Bright Winter, I mean, my God. I mean, it's just, it's the pinnacle. I mean, in Cleveland festivals. And Emily Hornack and the whole group over there, they do amazing things. And there is a committee, a small committee. I'm a part of the small committee. And then, kind of things filter through us, and it filters through another group, and then another group. So there's like a 3-tier process where, it's not just like, one person looking at it and going, ha ha ha, you suck. No.
There's a lot of people saying you suck.
But it's not like that at all. So my honest to God advice to people is, if you're hearing this right now, and I don't readily give this information out because it's like, well, no, first of all, nobody asked me. But the reality is, like, just keep applying, just keep doing your thing, keep trying to be better. I know that sounds super lame and just whatever, but the truth is, again, that there's so many pieces to these festivals. And like Heights Music Hop, Saturday, September 10th, we've got 40 different groups playing in with 13 or 14 different venues. Bright Winter is its own animal, and that's going to be in February 2023. So again, keep applying. Roots of American Music. I'm already doing that. HeightsMusicHop.com and then BrightWinter.com. BRITE. Great festivals, and I'm very, very proud to be a part of both of them.
Cool. And is Bright Winter open for applications right now?
Yes. In fact, I was just looking at emails earlier because I was trying to figure out
who to laugh at first.
No, yeah, I wanted to figure out who to point at. No. Do you ever do this where, like, you got so many emails and it's like, wait, what? Did I miss something? I don't know offhand when.
No, I really don't do that much besides this podcast.
I don't remember when.
He just waits outside till we come in on Wednesdays.
I don't remember when submissions end. I'm trying to look at my calendar right now, but if you go to Bright Winter, the website, you can apply right now, and I'm going to post something on my Facebook page. I can be found just Jason Meyers, Meyers, or Jason Patrick Meyers on Facebook, Instagram, all that good stuff. But I'll be posting here very soon a link. But yeah, applications are now being accepted for Bright Winter.
Cool. We'll look out for one from one of the groups I'm in. I'm not the booking guy, but I know they're going to apply.
Awesome.
The Rust Belt Ragtops.
Rust Belt Ragtops. Yeah. That's a cool name. Good alliteration.
I thought so too, yeah.
Did you come up with the name?
No, I actually just joined them like 6-8 months ago.
Yeah.
Okay. That's awesome.
Yeah, East Side Boys.
Running a nice jam night too.
Oh, that's right.
You should promote that a little bit.
I should.
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, every Thursday at the Fish Bar at the local tavern in Painesville.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. We at the singer Austin Hamilton, who also does his great acoustic gigs too. He runs, and most of us in the band come up every Thursday too. It's almost like the band hosts it. And, it's a jam night. The drums are there. There's guitars, amps. All you really got to bring is your own instrument. And there's microphones, even hand drums and saxophone, banjo, like everything. We do it outside and inside when the weather's bad. So, 52 weeks a year, every Thursday in Painesville.
Do people share a saxophone? I would think that wouldn't be a shareable instrument.
I don't know. Probably not. I know we have a
Bring
saxophone
your own mouthpiece.
player.
Yeah, I was gonna say, yeah.
We have a saxophone player in the band, Dave. He actually goes between mandolin and saxophone, and also sings like the fifth. He's not the fifth member because he's like one of the main singers, but like he switches between those instruments.
Yeah.
And so we'll like go between rock and blues and folk and funk and bluegrass and country and reggae. Like it's
all over the place, man.
It is. Our jams are all over the place too. Yeah.
I'm just impressed that there's a saxophone and a banjo together, living harmoniously.
Yeah, the bass player.
It's a scene,
man. The bass player will. There's a couple of our new tunes that we're getting ready to go in the studio. The bass player is playing banjo, and the guy Dave is playing bass.
That's cool.
I'm stuck on lead guitar for everything, though. I can't have any fun.
You can tell you're having fun with it. And you get up there, and like I was there when you first started with those guys. It like changes the dynamic of what the group's doing. Well, I'm enamored with your guitar playing. You know that.
I love playing guitar. What band was I in when we first met?
Oh man, what was it? God, you've been. I don't mean to call you names, but you've been around in the band scene. Oh my God, I'm trying to remember.
I'm even filling in with Carlos Jones and the Plus Band right now.
Are you really?
Yeah, that's been my new favorite gig.
What's the name of the song we're playing on Neo Rocks? Sunrise.
Sunrise. Yeah.
It's such a great
Everyone go
song.
listen to A New Day by Carlos Jones and the Plus Band. That album just dropped a couple months ago.
I gotta tell you, that's a 6.5 minute long song. And we
you play the whole thing?
Damn right we do.
Oh, hell yeah.
We don't
cut or something.
No, we don't cut Carlos off, man. No way. You know, and he was gracious enough to come on with us months back, and I don't know. He's such a great man. He's just, and we usually don't play, songs that are over 6 minutes unless they're really damn good, and that's a heck of a song right there.
Oh yeah, I've been on your radio station before.
have?
I think that maybe that's where I first met you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was with New Moon Rising.
Yeah.
And then I came in with another reggae singer, Sunshade, a couple years later.
Who headlined Blizzard Bash a few years back.
Right. Okay, you're right. I have kind of been around.
You whore.
I don't use names. I'm just saying. You're like the Ray Flanagan of... love you, Ray, if you're listening.
Yeah.
I just, I can't pick a style that I love the most, really.
That's
to
all
play.
right.
Yeah, that's all right, yeah.
So, that's
Keeps it interesting.
Yeah, it really does.
Yeah. I wish I could.
What
play more
about
than
you
one
with
style.
styles and when you're writing?
Yeah.
Is it like the music you grew up in that you were influenced by?
Oh hell no. My first influence to music was the Beach Boys, as far as like rock or pop music, right? I remember, I think it was 1987. I was like 6 years old, and my parents always put a cap on Christmas. I'm not saying like we were poor or anything, but we were, my mom's a piano teacher. My dad was a exterminator. So, there were certain limitations financially of what, they could provide us. And they gave me like this 10-pack of Beach Boys cassette tapes. And it was like the greatest thing ever for like my 6th birthday, right? Surfing USA, Be True to Your School, all this stuff. And like, Brian Wilson's writing and the harmonies, and like, I was like, holy, and this is before I knew about the Beatles, right? So like, they were my Beatles. So I learned to appreciate pop music as it is, from the Beach Boys. But really my early influences, I remember coming home from school and, being 5, 6, 7 years old, and there would be fish sticks. We would always eat fish sticks for some reason. My mother would be away teaching piano at CIM. My dad would be in the living room playing his bass, and he'd be listening to, like Miles Davis or Charlie Parker, these guys, and he'd be like watching them on television. And I would just sit down on the couch, and I would just watch these guys for hours. And like, there was no Sesame Street, there was no like cartoons. It was just like straight jazz.
Do you have siblings?
I have one sister, yeah. So between that and then finding the Beach Boys and then loving MC Hammer for a while. I loved MC Hammer.
Yeah. Can't touch it.
I can't touch it. and then
You
that
just had to.
You hit 40, the dad jokes just fucking roll out, man. I'm not, I have no offspring, but the dad jokes come.
Yeah.
so that's where all that comes from. It's all kind of meshed up in there. Yeah. Can't touch that.
Yeah.
All right.
Don't hurt him.
Please, Hammer, don't hurt him. Yeah.
You have anything else you want to talk about, or
my aspiring rap career? Apparently,
he's too legit to quit, man.
I'm
just gonna keep dropping them.
All right. Well, let's move on before this gets more MC Hammer.
Well, yeah, he's got family roles coming up too, so we gotta.
That's it.
We got.
Before we stop today, let's just give our condolences to Angus.
Yeah, our official greeter, my pup, passed away.
All of our guests have seen Angus the very first time they come in.
Yeah.
They greet him at the door, and
yeah, we had to say our goodbyes to Angus this past weekend. That absolutely sucked, but he was getting old and went downhill very quickly over the weekend. So the decision was clear to help with his suffering and put him down. But yeah, Angus, you're my homie.
So sorry.
Thanks.
cool. We still got a couple cats in the house.
Yeah, we do.
Mascots, right?
Yeah, they run away from everybody, and they make Evan sneeze all the time. But we still got a couple cats.
I got the strong allergy medicine working for me today.
The heavy duty stuff.
Yeah.
Got passed in a balloon in prison.
Last question.
Right.
You have a movie recommendation for us or TV series?
Or YouTube channel. Some kind of entertainment.
Wow.
I can see.
Okay, hold on. Let's reset here. I was not ready for that. Honest to God, I've never watched.
That's why you should all listen to the episodes before you come in, so you know
The
that.
very
question.
end.
So, wait, movie recommendation.
It can be
channel.
any. You don't have to do all three. Like any.
And what was the third
movie,
one?
TV, or YouTube that people should check out.
Oh my God, I'm gonna sound so lame here, but I really don't watch things. I work so much, I just don't watch things. But I don't want to just not tell you something.
So you said you had all the jazz on TV. Is there anything that you remember from that stood out that might be around on the YouTube world?
I would recommend Dizzy Gillespie to any father out there or mother trying to get their kid into music. And the only reason is because, again, going back to my father, I didn't really understand the music when I was a kid, but I understood his cheeks got so big when he played. And I thought it was so interesting. And looking back at it now, it makes me think, like, wow, just like the way his cheeks were, just like made me sit there for 30 minutes and listen to this guy. And I think that actually played into, my love of jazz, right? Like just the physical portion of that. So Dizzy Gillespie, I would recommend highly.
That's really interesting.
But you've seen him play, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
He's just like,
But yeah,
all
like
the air in
that
the-
visual can really capture, like when you're young, the
Yeah.
visual. Like I remember seeing Tommy Lee and his drum set doing flips on MTV, and I was like, that's what I want to do. I want to do that from now on.
Okay, one more thing then.
Yeah.
Bands or musicians in Cleveland to watch out for right now that are doing great things, or some people you think we should have in here to interview.
Oh, wow. Well, I'd be happy to send you an email or something on Messenger when I can think it out more. But, yeah, it's, I'll answer the question, but I got to be honest with you. It's hard to answer right now because I feel like we're still in this post-COVID haze. Prior to that, it was like, all right, well, these bands are playing these stages and these festivals and these, these concerts, and they're opening up for this guy and this girl and whatever. And now it's like, how do you judge projection, right? Like, who's really projecting out to really, do some amazing things? I keep going back to this word authenticity. I will, speak to the authenticity of people in this city. And I think Ray Flanagan is, he's not somebody who's new on the scene, but God, I love that guy. And I can tell you, he sent us at the radio station at Neo Rocks, he sends us 2 songs every single month since March of 2020. I mean, to have that dedication and, again, that sense of self to go, I'm doing this and I'm going to put this out there. I mean, that just impresses the hell out of me. And I make fun of Ray all the time, and he deserves it. But he, I mean, to just grind like that, I mean, that is just, I love that. So what I'll do, I will send you a more compiled list of folks, because I definitely have recommendations. But I don't like singling out too many people, just because I mean, there's so many great folks out there right now. But I will single out Ray because he has been busting his ass, and you know. And if there's nothing else that if there's one person listening to this right now, I'll give you real quick Jim Benson story. The purpose of me telling you this is that just like the festivals, keep applying yourself. If you're serious about music, keep going. If you're not serious about music, then screw it. Don't apply. Like, that's the thing. Jim Benson, first time I was really on the radio, I messaged him on Facebook. It was years and years ago, and he was part of the Inner Sanctum with Pat the producer and Matt Wardlaw. And I was very forward with him. I said, "Where do you live?" and this is through like MySpace, I think, at the time or whatever. And he's like, "What do you mean?" I'm like, "Well, I know you got this radio show," and I'm summarizing right now because it has been years. I said, "I'm going to show up at your house and I'm going to drop you a CD." And he's like, "Okay." And he gave me his address. And I was like, "Oh my God, that's weird. Okay." I went out to his house. I dropped a CD, went back home, messaged him on MySpace. He's like, "Yeah, I got it. This doesn't suck." Like, okay. So you're going to play me on the radio? It's like, yeah. And I listened to the radio, and sure enough, I was on the radio. And anyway, my point is, through this whole thing, is that keep persisting and keep going. And, you know, folks like Ray Flanagan and all the great musicians in town that keep doing this and keep pushing through what they're pushing through. God bless you. Keep doing it, and let me help you.
You can go back to, I think, episode 3 or 4, one of the very early ones. We talked to Ray. Yeah. And it was a unique episode because I think we maybe asked 2 questions, and he
went off.
Like
yeah.
We let him talk, like and that was great. It was great. And some of the most entertaining. It was great. Yeah. Episode 3, I believe.
I promised Ray an East Side hang on our porch, and that was like a year ago. He came to play at University Hospitals for one of our Friday Healing Harmony events, and I've got to get back to him because there's nothing better than sitting down in a chair with Ray Flanagan and just listening. That guy is amazing.
Cool. We're gonna have to do Ray Flanagan part 2
for sure.
Our first return guest. Yeah.
There you go.
Reach out to him. All right, thanks a lot for coming in, Jason.
Yeah, really
It was really good to see you.
I want to say thank you to you guys, not just for this interview, but allowing me the space to think about the interview. It's something unique to me because I'm always interviewing or doing things, and thank you for allowing me that space in my own head to think what you might be asking me and to actually like reflect on what's going on right now. Thank you.
Great.
Thanks a lot.
You're welcome. For Cuyahoga Sound Podcast, I'm Evan Stone.
I'm Chuck Schilling.
Peace.